Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Hello.
Hey, this is a great crowd.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming to the shul to join together and learn. It's lunch and learn, and I really mean that, learn. We're going to try to learn something new today to clarify some of the things that we've been thinking about, and hopefully each in our own way set a path forward that is effective for us. So before I start talking and telling you what I've thought about, what I know, I want to hear what you've thought about and what you know, because one of the great things about retirement is you had a lot of time to think. You kind of figured out who you are and what life is about, and so hopefully you have some insight. There's got to be some benefit of getting older. It's definitely not getting more flexible. So certainly knowing oneself is a tremendous benefit. We're talking specifically about retirement today, and I'm retired, now what do I do? And so given that question and that topic, let's just take a splashdown of some of your ideas. So what are the benefits of retirement?
Sleep in.
Sleep in.
Time to do all the things you haven't done.
Time. And work on
Time
goals.
with family.
Work on goals. Family.
Flexible schedule.
Flexibility. Anybody else? Any other benefits of retiring?
No bosses.
No boss.
Reduce stress.
No boss.
Right? Oh my God.
Less stress.
Yes.
Anyone else? Any other benefits? So you get to sleep in, you get in general more time and control of your time.
You got control of time, is right. Meet new people.
And meeting new people.
Volunteer in the community to help other people.
How about a change of priorities?
Now, meeting new people and volunteering, it's not really a given. It's something that you could do as a reaction, but I wouldn't say those are benefits. I would say those are benefits of having more time or control of your time. Does that make sense? You may not volunteer, you may not meet new people, but you'll probably have no boss. Everybody has a boss.
Unless you're married.
We have the boss.
If you're married.
We have,
Unless
right,
you're married.
your spouse boss. Sometimes your kids are a little bit your boss, so. Okay, but less stress, flexibility, family. I would also say that, could be a benefit, but it's not a natural. Working on your goals, again, the same thing. These are things that you could do, but yet you're in control of your time, and you can definitely sleep in. I guess that goes under time. Right? So if we distill it down, we have time, we have flexibility, no one telling us what to do, sort of around flexibility, and a lot less stress. That's great. Are we missing anything from the benefits of retirement?
Gotta be more. It's gotta be more than that.
I'm sure, but that's a good list. Okay, next. Dangers of retirement.
Get lazy.
Get lazy?
Yeah.
Boredom.
Or boredom. Yeah.
Laziness.
Financial focus.
Yeah,
Boredom.
Yeah, that's a good one.
financial.
Yeah, financial worries, yeah, stress.
Financial worry.
Boredom I think boredom is the best one.
What did you say?
Boredom.
Boredom.
Boredom. Up there.
Laziness, boredom, financial worry.
Atrophy of the brain.
Oh, that's good, Wally. That's a good one.
What is the one?
Brain atrophy.
And if you don't keep in shape, your body,
Body atrophy.
Muscles, yeah.
Body atrophy.
It's very important.
Anything else? Any other dangers of retirement?
There's sort of a loss of camaraderie if you were in a workplace where you enjoyed it.
isolation, I guess, is.
Loneliness.
That's a good
I
one.
felt that.
Yeah.
You need
I miss the people.
You need an E in there.
You're still correcting him.
Loneliness and isolation. Okay, any other dangers that you could think of off the bat? So, yeah, there's a danger of falling into laziness, just, it's sleeping in. What if you sleep in too much? And you really lose motivation, loss of motivation, I would connect to it, right?
And also wasting time, because you have a lot of time and you find out that you're doing things that are really not that productive.
That makes sense.
You're sitting on your phone for too long.
And you put it off until the next day.
Wasting time.
Yeah.
Right? You have control of your time, but nothing to fill it with, so you waste it. Boredom. Along the same lines. I have all this time, but I have nothing meaningful to do. Lack of meaning or passion.
Right.
Financial worry, right? No, there's not really new money coming in, and so you gotta, make sure that you're able to live on what you have. Brain atrophy, body atrophy, those are not, it's a danger, it's not a guarantee. I think if you do some of these things, right, then yes, there'll be brain atrophy and body atrophy. Though it could be, I guess a danger, even if you exercise, there's gonna be some bodily, aging, just aging. But the other danger is not, making sure that you're getting physical activity. But yes, there's always going to be aging, and I would say the same thing for brain atrophy, aging, but
Your mother just pointed out to me that you left out an E in aging.
I was a pain.
Crankiness and being a pain in the ass. Of course not. So yeah, and so we said brain atrophy and body atrophy, you can work on them by keeping some kind of motivation, goals, and some kind of exercise, but there's going to be a natural loss, so that's a danger. Loneliness and isolation, and that seems to be because you had a natural community when you worked, right? Work is a natural community, and you had a purpose at that place. So now you've withdrawn from that, and all of a sudden, the network that you were part of is no longer something that you walk into every day. So you have to find a new network. And studies keep on coming out about loneliness, that loneliness is more dangerous for your health than smoking, believe it or not. And even they want to start to correlate it to, like they say, a big predictor of health problems is being overweight, but sometimes a comorbidity of being overweight is loneliness. So that also is maybe some of the health problems are coming out of loneliness as well. and isolation. So those two go together. Definitely dangers.
There's more. People treat you differently, like you're worthless once they find out you're retired. That you don't have anything to contribute.
So the danger there is to your ego, self-image.
Right, about how people react to you and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And then also when a danger is that once you're retired and a lot of these other things and these other stresses that go away, you are forced to face personal issues that you've been avoiding.
So that could be a benefit too, you could argue.
Well,
Yeah,
it's,
only if you wanna see
it
it.
depends how you face it.
Okay, so
It's both,
forced
but
to face yourself.
Right.
Isn't that self-image?
Yeah, that's true. Right, you have to, maybe there's relationships that you were able to avoid, but when you're retired, it's a lot harder.
I would say that the self-image was perception by others.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, that's a tough and not fun list. How about something more fun? Goals. These are just personal. What do you have any goals? Just it's for travel.
Get in shape.
Travel.
That's my goal.
Get in shape.
Yeah.
Reading
Round is a
more.
shape.
Round is a shape.
Yeah. That's a good one. Reading.
Reading.
Play mahjong
Mahjong.
with your friends.
Just learning.
Friends. Time with friends.
Learning.
Learning what?
Everything. Mine's a canasta.
Learning new skills and ideas.
Or making your present skills better.
Self-improvement.
Service.
Service.
Community service.
Community
like,
service.
Service to others.
Spending more time with your family.
Does it count if it's quarter?
That may or may not be a goal. Depending upon your family.
Depends on the family, right?
Okay.
I think writing. I read some story. Some woman retired, and he just write some novel, and then he become very famous after
That's really something.
60 years old.
Some people have careers.
So I would say like
They have many experience.
doing what you've always wanted to do but put off.
Yeah.
And not everybody knows that. Some people don't know what they've always been wanting to do, and they'll have to ask that
Your
question.
aspirations.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. So let's save advice for the end, because I know we all have some advice for each other. We're not floating here, like it's not like I'm here to tell you this is what to do during retirement. You guys know nothing. I mean, you guys from the list, clearly you know the dangers, you know the benefits, and you see some of the goals. I want to share some sources, and everything's up for discussion, so feel free to either shout out or raise your hand depending on your custom. This one is, it's a tough one. This is one of the scholars of the 19th century, Leopold Low, wrote a book called The Ages of Man in Jewish Literature. And he argued that between the age of, he said there's 3 periods of a person's life. From 1 to 20, which is preparation. from 20 to 60, which is activity, and from 60 onwards, which is decline.
Something to think about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want us all to reject that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though he was supposedly a great Jewish thinker in the 1800s and he wrote this book, it doesn't make him right.
Maybe in the 1800s there was decline, but it's different now, I think.
I mean, look, there's a life expectancy component that has to be put on that statement.
Well, you know, I don't think Judaism has ever believed that old age is a time of decline.
Absolutely.
If anything, we are like the Eastern religions that have a tremendous respect for those who are older than us. A famous line, Mipnei Seva Takum. Before someone who is 70 years old or more, you should rise when they walk into the room. As if to say, hey, respect them, you have something to learn from them. So I don't know about decline is the right word, but he's pointing out something that is true, which is the natural sequence, if left alone, is to go into decline. Once you stop being productive and working, it's like the grass is always greener. When you're productive and working, you want to be retired. But when you stop being productive and working,
Back to work.
unless you fill that void with something of meaning, then he's right. Then why be around? Just go into decline. I think that's, you know, some of the way that we treat the people who are older, the idea that they just get posted in front of a television set, I think invites that decline. There's kind of like, we haven't figured it out yet. We haven't really figured out how can we properly continue to ascend after retirement rather than decline. So that's really the core of what this class is about, to make that guy wrong.
Well, what are we doing wrong? Pirkei Avot says it's wisdom as you get older, right?
We're going to see that Pirkei Avot in a minute. Rav Yehuda ben Tema Haya Omer. Ben Chamesh Shishim Lemikra. At the age of 5, you start studying the Torah. Ben Eser LeMishnah. At the age of 10, start studying Mishnah. Ben Shlosh Esrei LeMitzvos. At 13, you have to do the mitzvos. Ben Chamesh Esrei LeTalmud. At the age of 15, you should start studying Talmud. Ben Shmona Esrei LeChuppah. At the age of 18, get married. Ben Esrim LeRodef. At the age of 20, it's time to pursue. Time to work really hard. Ben Shloshim LeKoach. At 30, you've reached your strength. You've reached your full strength. Ben Arba'im Lebina. At the age of 40, you've reached understanding. You understand yourself. Ben Chamishim Le'etza. At the age of 50, you can give advice. Ben Shishim Lezikna. At 60, you've reached maturity. Ben Shivim Leseva. At the age of 70, you've reached fruition. Or another way of saying that is you've achieved a full life of satisfied. Then Shmonim Legevura. At 80 years, you have strength. There's two ways that the sages see that. One is like you're strong. If you reach 80, you're a strong person. And the other is it's an euphemism, meaning you start to weaken. Your body starts to weaken at 80. Then Tishim Lesuach. At the age of 90, you bend over. Ben meya ki'ilu meis ve'avar ubatal min ha'olam. At the age of 100, it's as if you're dead and you've passed and you're not even in the world. That is a famous Mishnah. So around the time that retirement happens, I would say it's around this time of Eitzah, of advice. What advice could you give? That's an important question to ask yourself in retirement. What have you learned, and what advice would you give? I think it's a wonderful idea to write, especially in retirement when you have the time to write. And because that's a way of hashing out your ideas. It's very hard to hold complex ideas just in your mind, because your mind has a certain desktop, just like your computer, and there's only so much space to hold an idea. But once you start writing, there's no limit to the complexity of the ideas that you can put down. And one of the important things about retirement is a belief. I learned something, and now it's time for me to give some advice, put some of this wisdom back into the world for those who would listen. But there's a lot that I wish I had been told. There's a story that explains this. The Imre Emes, the Sfas Emes, gave a story. He said there was a young man wandering aimlessly through the forest. And he finally, after days of wandering, meets an older person. And he says, "Great, tell me how to get out of the forest." But to his disappointment, the elderly man responds, "I've been wandering in this forest for 70 years. I can tell you which paths not to take, but only you can find your way out."
Wow.
That's interesting, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So that Eitzah, the idea of being able to give advice, but taking the time and energy to distill your advice so that, a part of your soul and your experience can be communicated properly to others. I think that is something that's overlooked. The other one, the 90 for the age of 90 for suach, to bend over. They say that bending over is like focusing on God, right? Instead of looking towards, our point of view, at a certain point we have to become more God-minded. We've achieved a large part of our selfness, right? If we were gonna have kids, we've had kids. If we were gonna, be the president of the United States, we're the president. Though not always these days. But in general, we have accomplished the goals that we put ourselves out to accomplish. So now, what makes our lives meaningful is a reconnection to the spiritual, finding out, why am I here beyond what did I accomplish, right? Because, if we're just defined by what we produce, then again, retirement's going to be a really rough time.
We've peaked, is what you're saying.
What?
We've peaked.
You've peaked.
That's it.
But if life is defined by spiritual meaning, by the infinite value of your awareness, of your connection to God, of your wisdom, then that is something that you're ready to begin, right? With the extra time, with sleeping in. sort of. You may not want to sleep in. That's what I'm saying. Meaning, you may get to the point where you want to get up and do something that is more spiritual and fulfilling.
I think the fact is, it's easy to do nothing. So it takes some effort, to push yourself to do something, so.
I agree.
And I look at, the self-motivation to try to do something, rather than just fall into the trap of laying around the house, and.
Put in effort.
Want advice?
Yeah.
Be a millionaire.
Be a millionaire. I was going to get to that. Yes. But yeah, Ron can say that, meaning, no, but really, how has that enhanced your life?
Huh?
How has being a millionaire enhanced your life?
Oh, with her hands? I mean,
Enhanced. How has being a millionaire made your life better?
I'm here every night.
And
I've been at, 24 years now. I come in every night.
it gives you something to do.
Yeah.
Does it give you
It's
a
a
sense?
social event.
It's a social event.
Yeah.
Does it also give you some meaning?
Some
Yes.
purpose,
Yeah.
I agree with
Be with
Ron,
people.
and the Zoom minion is so good, like, you
Oh,
the morning minion.
Yeah, David's
You
in
get
there
up,
on the Zoom. You
and
get
you're
up
not
in the
sleeping
morning.
in, you get up.
Exactly, you're
Yeah.
forced to get
The
up.
Yeah.
the minion gets you, and maybe that's one of the ideas of the minion is to, and we're gonna get to that. I want to talk a lot about routine, the importance of routine. But first, there's a few more sources. We're doing good on time. Can anybody think of something from the Torah that talks about retirement? Any retirement in the Torah?
That's a good question.
Moses,
No.
Moses had to.
Moses? Tell me.
Wasn't there a point where Moses said he was going to stop leading the people, and the people said, no, you have to continue?
There was a moment where Moses said, how can I take all these people and they're fighting and their struggles, I can't take it anymore. And so, yeah, that's very interesting. Moses doesn't retire, but he delegates. And it ends up becoming, instead of one person leading, there are judges appointed and judges underneath the judges. It becomes a hierarchy of law and elders. They're called the elders. And the elders help Moshe by taking, so yeah, definitely an idea of, that's a good one. I didn't think of that. But giving up some of your responsibility while not fully giving up the responsibility. Moshe keeps on working till the day he dies, and it says when he died, he was still strong and his eyes were still clear. I mean, he never really slowed down or stopped, but there is a point where you gotta delegate. Now, I don't know if that's a retirement thing as much as like in general, when you're in a power position, there's a point where you can snap and you gotta, but I think it's also true in retirement. You don't have to retire, or do you? That is the question. So anybody else have a thought? That was a great one, Wally. In the Torah, there is a tribe called Levi. And the tribe of Levi does not get a portion in the land of Israel. They rather are spread out in the whole land, and their job is to assist with the temple.
05 CTS.
So their job is to assist with the temple to help the Kohanim. But here's interesting thing.
At 50 they're out.
Yes.
At 50 they're out.
At 50, they're out. Nasoas rosh b'nei kahat mitoch b'nei Levi mishpachotam b'beit avotam miben 30 shana umala ve'ad ben 50 shana. They should
Okay.
be counted from the age of 30 to the age of 50. Kol ba'al tzava la'asot malacha bo'el me'ed. Those are the ones who will do work in the tent of meeting. And Rashi says, up until you're 30, you have not attained your full strength. That's where we got 30 to strength. And and when you're 50, your strength gradually diminishes. you have diminishing strength. That's what Rashi says. So because their strength is diminishing, they are not allowed to serve any longer in the Mishkan. So is that saying that retirement is forced? That the reason you're retiring is because you're not as quick, you're not up on things anymore, technology has surpassed, that could be one model that like you're just not, you're not able to cut it like the young folk. Is that what retirement is? Is it forced? The good thing is, no. While it might sound like that at first glance, it quickly becomes qualified in the Torah itself. They should continue, from the age of 50, they could continue their work by standing guard, but they should perform no labor. Lishmoret mishmeret, they can do the shomer, the shmirah, the guarding, standing guard, kind of, I picture someone in an art gallery, but they can no longer schlep. L'ne'ilat sharim ulashir, they can lock the gates of the Mishkan, they can sing in the choir of the Mishkan, they can even load the carts, the wagons of the Mishkan, but the heavy schlepping, they're not allowed to do any longer. So this really qualifies that idea that, yes, on one hand, there is some physical changes that happen with age. You're easier to get tired, less desiring to deal with a lot of stress, maybe not as physically strong, and maybe even with minds. Not everybody's mind is as sharp as they were when they were 20 or 30. So that's fair. But the Torah does not say you have to stop working. The Torah says don't do the things that are dangerous or not possible to do. Find your role that you can do. And that's the value of the Torah. The Torah believes in retirement from a certain kind of work. A work that is, the work that we do. We don't load things and we don't sing and but we do take a lot of stressful mental burdens in our work. The work that we do is very stressful. And as you get to a certain age, bearing that stress is not healthy. Right? It's not healthy on any age, but a 40-year-old body can generally take it. Right? At a certain time, at a certain point, your body, you give yourself agita. So, the idea of offloading a stressful job, but yet not stopping your production. Finding ways to be productive without that stress. You hear what the Torah is saying? So, why do we retire? Oh, I'm sorry, that's the next source. So I think, is everyone following what I'm saying there? Is that the Torah value of retirement is not you're not able to do it anymore, so you're not allowed to do it anymore. Not at all. It's, hey, there's a reality. Figure out your own reality of what you're able to do and what level of stress and physical labor, and offload it. We have a guy in the shul who, this is like the most, I would say biblical form of this. We have a guy in the shul who's a rodeo rider. And he was riding rodeo into his 60s. And then he got to the point where he couldn't ride rodeo anymore. Couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it.
He thought he was going to do it forever. But his body said no. Yeah, he was a real cowboy we have in the shul. So, and I think it was hard for him because he never came to this lunch and learn. But he had tremendous skills as a horse whisperer. He could take a horse that was wild and calm them down. And if he had done a little bit of better transition then perhaps he would still be able to do that with horses and use his skills in a way. So I guess what this is arguing is saying, maybe you don't have to fully retire. If there's a way to have some kind of work that is, they call it today the niche economy?
Right.
Is that what they call it? The niche
Yeah.
economy or the
Niche.
not niche. I think it's the gig economy.
Gig.
The gig economy. You know, you could have a little gig on the side. You could have something. If there's something that you enjoy doing, then don't feel that there's a commandment to be retired and not work. Have a gig on the side. Figure out what your gig is. If work is something that you'd like to do, then figure out a gig. Does that make sense? Yes.
But how do you figure out what that gig is?
How do you figure out what that gig is?
Keep looking.
I think you got to. Does anybody have a good answer for that?
Trial and error.
What?
Trial and error.
Trial and error. Try something. Look at your skills and try to figure out. Look back at what you did and think,
No.
what did I really enjoy
No,
about
absolutely
that?
nothing to
There
do
was-
with pharmacy, no.
There was nothing you enjoyed about your job?
No.
Not giving advice to people.
At this point in my life, I don't have
Yeah.
enough knowledge of the new therapies
Okay.
and not the brain power. to
Well
work.
then, like, what are you passionate about? Is it easy fun if you have something that you're passionate about that would really bring you enjoyment? I mean, I don't know, I mean, I haven't figured it out either, but.
That's, I think it's a great question. Like, what are the, looking at the gig economy, and there's things that have nothing to do with what you did. Like, for instance, you could drive Uber.
That'd be funny.
There's a thing called WAG. There's a thing called WAG and Rover where you walk dogs, and So, and again, you're probably not gonna make big money doing these things, but that's not what it's about. It's about doing something that you enjoy, that's productive, giving to society. So those are, yeah, and I think that's just one possible way. I'm not saying everybody should figure out a further job. You don't have to, but it's not something that, like, don't believe that, oh, I'm retired, I can no longer work. That's just that's a falsehood. What do they do with my other sheet? There's another source that talks about priests and working in the temple, and it actually says in the Mishnah Torah, Maimonides says that a person should never be removed from their position. They're just kind of like backing what we were just saying, unless they've done something that is wrong, whether ethically wrong or a big mistake. So you don't force a judge out, you don't force a doctor out, he says. You don't force anybody who's in a profession out against their will, unless they've done something that would call on that. So that's another furthering of this idea. You don't have to retire. There's a source that talks about the Sanhedrin, the high court that would rule on capital cases in Israel. There was one high court, and if there was a capital case, it would be brought to the Sanhedrin. And they say, don't appoint a very old person to the Sanhedrin because they have cruelty inside them.
Wow.
Real wow.
So obviously, like a lot of things the sages say, this is not a across-the-board statement. Old people are not cruel. But there is, what they're saying is there is a possible trend, and you see this sometimes, which is if you don't, from pretty early on, like right around the time that you guys are at, figure it out, then there is a possibility of descending into a bitterness.
Curmudgeon.
Yes, that's what you want to avoid. You want to avoid descending into a place where you're bitter about life, where you don't see the good, where you're not merciful and fresh, with fresh eyes. You want fresh eyes. You know, you could be 80 years old and have the eyes of a child. Does that, you know what I mean by that? And that's to keep that passion, that curiosity. That's what we're aiming for. So, I have my cards. So, talking about the dangers of loneliness, how can we not, like, make sure we don't fall into loneliness, or at least do our best? What steps can we take to avoid loneliness?
Get out of the house. Get together with your friends.
Friends.
Family.
Make sure that you have friends, and something, and this goes into the time thing, and I'm really a proponent of writing things down. Have a list of your friends. Like, who are the people that are truly your friends, and make sure that you stay in touch with them. And maybe make another list of the people you'd like to be friends with. Oh, that person at shul that I met. It could be a shorter list. But know your friends and value your friends and make time for them. Engagements.
Yeah. No, engagement with other people, just engagement as the
Getting
concept.
together.
Getting together.
Things.
Community.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Engagement.
So community, so friends, and then there's general community, and that's one of the most, it's one of the things I'm most proud of about our shul, is that we are a community, and people get together here throughout the week, during Shabbos, on Sundays to watch a football game, and we're together. There's a feeling of togetherness. Could it be better? Yeah, it could definitely be better. You know, sometimes you hear, oh, people are clicky, they didn't talk to me, and that's a drasha that I need to give. People are naturally sometimes into their own little friend group, and but it doesn't mean that the benefits of community are not there. Just being together in a room, sharing a meal, is an amazing, wonderful thing, and that's why, Fishel once said to me, yeah, you're gonna get people to learn Torah because you're having them to lunch. And I said, no, the lunch is just as important as the Torah, because just sitting together and talking and connecting, it's so beautiful.
One of the things that I've been doing is I think about like my past, and and with like Facebook and social media, I've been trying to reach out to people in my past that I haven't talked to, that they were like really important in the different periods of my time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been sending like letters or emails or something to them just to try to reconnect and see where they are in their life.
I love that idea as well. So like in these lists that we're talking about, you have your list of your current true friends, a list of a few people who you'd like to work on the friendship with, and maybe a list of people you'd like to reconnect to. Mm-hmm. Thinking back, reflecting on, I had this friend from high school, and they were truly best friends then, and we've lost touch for 30 years, 40 years. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
Don't ever, one thing that you can't have, certainly not at the age of retirement, is fear. Right? That's, you have to get to the point where like you can get on the dance floor and dance. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, right?
And generally they're really happy to hear from you.
Yeah.
I don't usually use Facebook.
So community, friends, and family, right? Loneliness can again, not for everybody. These are all generalities. Some people have a real stunky family. But to the extent that you have family that you know care about you and that you care about them, deepen that connection. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as well.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I think among these 613 mitzvah, one mitzvah is most time consuming. That is, in your lifetime, you should write a Torah once. I heard someone retired, and then he said, okay, this is time to write a Torah. Then he buy all kind of stuff and have a rabbi to check his writing and doing these things maybe 2 or 3 years, eventually finish.
Wow. Yeah, there's a mitzvah. In fact, it's the last mitzvah in the Torah that everyone should write their own Torah. And most people that the way that people do the mitzvah is either if you really want to do it, you'll commission a whole Torah, or people will pay to write a letter in a Torah. They have these Torah writing campaigns, and so you pay for a letter in the Torah. So it's like writing a Torah. But the idea of learning to write a Torah, that's time consuming. It's meaningful. It's beautiful. Not for everyone. Not everyone loves the idea of calligraphy, but I think it points. I totally agree with the idea of the mitzvah, and I want to go 2 directions with that. One, and I do have a card for Judaism, but one is maybe pick a mitzvah that you haven't done, you haven't had time to do, you didn't have the capacity to do it, and focus on doing that mitzvah, putting on tefillin every day, or lighting the Shabbos candles, or making challah. I mean, there's all kinds of different mitzvot. And then the other direction to take that is art, is really trying out, at least giving it a try. And this is, I was going to save this for something else, but this is a really important point, is you might say, I don't like that. I know I don't like that. And I had this feeling the other night, there was a point where I wanted to watch all the TV. I never get to watch TV between the kids and my job. And then if I have any extra time, I go exercise, and I just don't watch TV. And then if I ever do get to watch TV, it's my wife has already the TV on, and she's watching her thing, which I hate. She's watching something cute about, Mayim Bialik has a good show. If you guys want to watch a good show, Mayim Bialik, I think it's called Call Me Kat or something. You know Mayim Bialik? She's an Orthodox Jew. So it's a cute show. That's what my wife's watching. Would I choose to watch it? No. But now that I watch it, I always like what my wife watches, but it's not what I choose. So I always thought, we'll get into TV. And then I was thinking to myself, I don't want to watch anything. I don't want to watch anything. Get another TV.
Put the word out that if you want to buy me a gift, let's pitch in.
We could have 2 in my room. In the bed, 2. One on this side, one on that side. We each have our AirPods in.
Either way.
I thought to myself, I don't want to watch movies. Like I always thought, when I retire, I'm going to catch up on all the movies. I want to watch all the TV. And I'm like, I don't want to watch that. There's nothing that interests me. How did I go from wanting to watch everything to being like, there's nothing that interests me. I don't want to do that. So the answer is that when you don't do something and you put it off long enough, not only will you kind of lose the practice of it, but you'll lose the desire for it. And what I'm telling you is, it doesn't mean that the desire is not there. It just means that it's latent. It's under the surface. So you're gonna have to dig a little bit. And this is what happens. I think, every period of people's lives is the hardest period. When I had 1 kid, I thought it was insane. Then I had 2 kids.
Little did you know.
Then I had 2 kids. And when, my sister or my sister-in-law have 1 kid, oh my God, life is insane. But in general, I think things kind of like, in terms of pressing on time, it goes up between the kids and the job. And then as the kids get a little older, you start to have a little bit more time. But it still feels as hard as any time. You'll always feel like it's the hardest time. You'll never, I mean, this is my experience. Maybe this is not true for everyone, but I always feel like people are overwhelmed, you know, because life is hard. But maybe it changes when you retire. Maybe that changes. And all of a sudden, you have this open space, but you don't want to do anything. That's not because you don't want to do anything. It's because there was so long between when you had that desire to do something and that not acting on it. So what you have to do is, it's like the fake it till you make it kind of thing. You have to try to think back, I did want to do that, but I don't want to do it now. So have in mind, I'm going to give it 2 months of a concerted effort to get into this, to get into reading or astronomy or art or watching movies, whatever it may be, that, you know, and it could be anything. Try things. Just because you initially don't feel like they're interesting or you're interested in them doesn't mean that you won't be. And I think a lot of people get held back from getting into new things because initially they just feel, And again, I'm saying it's because there's been so much time spent not even thinking about it as a reality. So our minds kind of closed that door. But our minds' doors are not locked. They can be opened.
I have a funny story. I have these neighbors who talked about traveling, and they wanted to buy a recreational vehicle, and they retired, and they did. Over $80,000 for this really nice. They took one trip and said it was a disaster. And now it's just sitting in the street that hasn't moved in months.
Do they want to sell it?
But be careful, it will be very
for a bond.
Right. Oh, I think that's a really good point also, is that this is always true, that there is a propensity to feel like if I just buy blank, then I'll be happy. And sometimes it's true. There are certain purchases that will help you in life, but it's not a panacea. There's nothing that you'll buy, like the RV you're saying. You buy an RV, the big one, boats, everything. If I buy a boat, I'll be happy. More often, it's the exact opposite. You buy a boat, you'll be unhappy, almost guaranteed. But if you join a boat club, right? So you don't have to deal with the boat. Maybe you've always try a boat club if you want to do this. Get into things, but don't think that one thing that money can purchase will change your whole feeling of meaning in life. I think it's a really good point, Ben.
I've always wanted to have enough time to save the baby birds, and I figure it's going to take me so long to do it that I'll never run out. The baby birds, you save the baby birds, you take them away so they don't see a mother bee.
Right.
I think that's the coolest mitzvah.
The mitzvah.
I could spend the rest of my life saving
chasing away
baby birds.
Yes. Another thing for loneliness that didn't get mentioned: pets.
Oh, definitely.
If a person's lonely, definitely a dog or a cat.
Will you come over and walk
Or a
them?
bird.
What?
Will you come over and walk them?
No, that's the whole point. You'll walk them, then you're not bored or lonely.
Then you get extra.
Right.
You need a lot of people
Exercise.
walking
Yeah,
dogs.
not when it's 20 degrees.
Right.
You need a lot of cold people walking dogs.
Okay, the next one we talked about was boredom, and it's just so important to keep a sense of curiosity and passion. And that's something that you just need to work on. You need to write those in big letters. I want to be curious. I want to be passionate. And so finding things that to do, but I would say also that are meaningful to you. It's not enough just to do. I think a lot of people do that, and maybe it is enough for some people. Like there's have you ever heard of like, is there a thing called, there's some village, the Village in Florida?
Yeah.
Villages.
A lot of people live there.
Yeah, and like you just, your life is just leisure, right? You could play all kinds of card games and stuff, and I think that's a model, but I think you'll do, and I think it can work. It's meaning distraction, having fun. Nothing wrong with that. I think people work hard. They can retire and just have fun. But I think you're going to do better spiritually to find something that's meaningful. In addition to the fun, have fun for sure, but do something meaningful. Writing, art, photography, pickleball, day trips. There are so many day trips to do from right here in Baltimore. There are like a ton of cool places to go that are within a 3-hour drive. You know, make a list,
I have a suggestion.
get excited.
CCBC has a whole section devoted to seniors. So the past several years, I've been taking classes with the Hunt Valley, Owings Mills, they have, you know, campuses at Catonsville. And again, they discount it for people who live in Baltimore County, and you know, and it's really good just to go out to a college campus and, you know, and see a variety of people. You know.
What's CCBC? What is it?
Community College of Baltimore.
Oh.
County.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talking about writing, you should have some other lists, or clearly stated your goals. You should have goals, and those goals should be clearly written out. Everyone ought to have some goals. A bucket list. Things that you regret not doing or seeing, you know. To have that written out is a useful thing. It's a useful thing. What would you, and when you think bucket list, you think, oh, skydiving, seeing Antarctica, but it could be, you know, not going with my children to Israel, or not, you know, taking time to study Torah, you know, in a deep, serious way. It doesn't have to be like wild travel things and jumping out of planes.
As long as it's not watching the Ravens in the Super Bowl.
Then you really need goals.
Yeah.
Learning to have
Don't worry,
tact.
you won't have to
Learning
do
to
that.
have tact is definitely a bucket list goal for some. How often family is really important. You know, at people's funerals, it's always like they're always telling me I said, what was the most important thing to them? Oh, like family. You know, there's a lot, but family is generally always, especially if it's someone with, you know, grandchildren. So be mindful about family and ask the question, especially if you have parents around, how often do I want to speak to my parents? How often do I want to speak to my children? How often do I want to see and speak to my grandchildren or other family members? And make a plan to let that happen, because the time will just pass and they will grow up. So, you know, have a mindful, written out goals. What can I do to enhance my relationship with each one of these individuals? Ask yourself that question. What could I do to enhance my relationship? How can I use my wisdom and my time to help them for where they are, with what they're going through? How could I help my family members? There's no greater service than giving back to those who are closest to you, to your friends, to your family, to your own community. Meals, setting up regular meals together. And I think it's a good time to talk about routine. Routine is incredibly important as we, whether it's now, whether you're working or whether you're retired, having a set routine. This is the time I get up. This is the time I go to bed. These are, and with exceptions, flexibility is also important, but you know, having on Sundays I go out to lunch with so and so. Routine can really make life feel better, and just our minds are looking for some kind of routine, some kind of sense of stability. So routine is really important. Health. There's a mitzvah in the Torah to guard our health. Shmor lecha u'shmor nafshecha. The Torah says, guard yourself and guard your soul. And the rabbis interpret that to mean a mitzvah to take care of your health. We all know what that is. I don't need to be your primary care doctor. Eat right and make sure that you're walking and doing physical activity. Every day should be a day where you get out and walk. And if it's bad weather, I want you to either go to the mall or come here to the shul, or a treadmill or the gym. But if you don't have the treadmill or the gym, or you don't want to go to the mall, you can come here and walk around the sanctuary and talk on the phone to somebody or listen to a music or a movie. Walk every day. Eat fruits and vegetables. Now I'm talking to myself. Finances. If you're not really good with finances, make sure you have a financial advisor. Maybe even if you are good with finances. I know a good financial advisor. If you need one, speak to me. I have a name to drop.
Is it the same person that I would know?
Yes, exactly. It's my best friend. So Joe Mondell, Ben's son, is a financial advisor. So if you happen to be looking, I would give a plug for him. But yeah, have an accountant, have a financial advisor, have a will, have a written plan for your medical desires, like what you'd want. If this happens, then I want you to take this intervention. If this happens, then I want you to take that intervention. And write that out and give it to someone you trust.
Yeah, there's forms for it.
Yeah, there's forms. What was it called? It's a living will? Is that what it's called?
I can't think of anything. I think it's a
Yeah.
will,
But get
medical,
directive. Your directive. Your health directive.
Health directive.
Yes. Something to know, if you don't trust anybody, people have given it to me. People have made me their in charge of their health directive, and that's something that I'm okay doing. I wouldn't say I'm happy to do it. I say I'm okay doing. It's part of my responsibility to be your Rebbe. And to think about the possibility that you'll need help. That there are resources out there for affordable housing and for all kinds of financial help. And that's an important thing to not. It's not embarrassing at all. To know to go to the rabbi, if and tell other people this. If they're having financial issues, go to the rabbi. You don't have to know a social worker. Not everybody knows a social worker. Go to the rabbi. The rabbi will connect you to a social worker. The rabbi can help with short-term, debt or problems that come up. The rabbi can bail you out of jail if you did something bad. I'm looking at you. And last, before we end, I do want to talk about Judaism. A couple things. The famous line that the world stands on three things: al ha-Torah, al ha-avodah, ve'al gemilut chasadim. On Torah, on service, which means prayer, and gemilut chasadim, which are acts of kindness, community service. So, al ha-Torah, on Torah, make sure that you are learning some Torah. The Talmud says when you get to heaven, one of the first questions you're asked is, did you set aside time every day to study Torah? And if God asks you, did you set aside time every day to study Torah? You want to say yes. It doesn't say an hour. It didn't say 30 minutes. Did you set aside time? Could be 2 minutes. Take 2 minutes. Get a Torah book and read a page every day, if that's where you're at. But make sure to connect through Torah every day. Prayer, avodah. As Ron said, the minions, we could use your help. The minions give more to the people who come than they give to the minion. It gives them a sense of meaning, and they're really meaningful because they're helping people say Kaddish. it gives them a reason to get up in the morning and a calming place to go before they go to bed at night. Gives them community, the minions. But avoda doesn't necessarily mean minions. And by the way, minions are for women and men. Just because there's a rule, you need 10 men to have a minion, doesn't mean that men only count. Women count just as much as men in a minion, and it counts for women just as much as men. So, minion is a value in itself. But prayer, separate from minion. Make sure in the morning when you wake up, you're talking to God. Make sure you say thank you for waking me up. Please give me a good day ahead. Please heal so-and-so. Right? Talk to God. You want to be someone who talks to God. I remember my grandmother, when we went to Israel, and we went horseback riding on the beach in Netanya. When we got back, everything in our car had been stolen. But before we realized that and everything was still good, my grandmother was hanging out on a hammock. She was too old to ride the horses on the beach. So I said, Grandma, what are you doing? She says, I'm talking to God. He says he's happy that I'm back home.
Oh.
So, I mean, you want to be, avoda is talking to God. In the nighttime before you go to bed, you want to say the Shema. You want to be someone who says the Shema every night. When you're working, sometimes it's so stressful, life is so you pass out at the end of the day, or you never had the time to devote yourself to these practices. But be a Jew who says the Shema morning and night, who talks to God. If you want to set up a Torah, and the last one is Gibilut Chasadim, acts of kindness. Find some community service. The shul could use your help. You want to help out with the shul? You want to help make a holiday happen? We definitely need help with holidays, getting the holidays planned so that every holiday is something special for everyone. There's a lot of projects. And Ben has done that. Ben has been someone who's come and helped me with my organization in my office. There are a lot of things to get involved in. You guys have tremendous time, knowledge, and resources. So the shul is a product of your service, and I think you guys can do that. And then there's other things as well, like adopting older people. I have a list of people in their 90s who could use a call, use a friend. They may have a kid, they may not have a kid, but the idea that everyone should have a friend, they need to get to the doctor, or somebody who cares and looks after them. I obviously care about everybody, but I can't care about 400 people very well, I triage, but if you had a one-on-one, or you had a couple people that you were, calling every week, that's a tremendous mitzvah. And I have those names. And the last is a Torah study plan. If you're interested, but you just I don't even know where to start, Rabbi. I want to study Torah, but I don't know what to do. So call me, and we'll talk, and we'll come up with a plan of daily Torah study. Okay, guys?
Okay.
I would have liked more advice. Does anybody have anything that we didn't talk about, didn't touch on, that you wanna share?
Use it or lose it.
Use it or lose it.
You gotta keep moving, because otherwise you lose skills.
Oh yeah, for sure. One thing it sounds trite, but it's not at all. Stretch every morning and every evening. I learned stretching because I was on the football team, so I know how to stretch. But if you don't know how to stretch, you can call me. I'll teach you some stretches. But every morning, you should be stretching as many muscles in your legs. Stretch your back, your neck, and in the nighttime too. You gotta give your muscles some care. I mean, it's the crazy thing that we don't. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
If you have any ideas for the next Lunch and Learn, please email me or call me. I'm looking forward to doing this on another topic. The thought was, not everybody wants to learn Parsha every week. Parsha's great, but maybe something a little bit more relevant will be interesting to a wider range of people. And I think it worked. I think a lot of people who don't usually come came today, and I thank you for that. Thank you for being involved and coming.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Fuck, everyone.
Yay. This was great.
Great.
That was nice.
Okay, do you wanna do an Aussie one?
Very
Wanna do
interesting.
What? Yeah, we have to do it
I
on.
got a suggestion.
This was great.
Good.
Chicken.
You're gonna have a regular basis?
Yeah.